On Christmas morning, I opened a gift from my wife's family. It was my missing wristwatch from last year, the only thing left of my father. I thought I lost it. Her sister laughed and said, "Oh, I forgot I took that." When I confronted her, my Mill said, "Don't start drama over a watch." That night, I quietly packed a bag. The next day, my wife woke me up screaming, "What did you say to her?" You know what they say about the best laid plans? Yeah, well, mine just got absolutely obliterated by the cosmic joke that is my family. Here I am, standing in what was supposed to be the crown jewel of my 32 years on this godforsaken planet, my brand new apartment that I busted my ass to afford, and I'm having what you might generously call a moment. Let me paint you a picture of how this train wreck unfolded. I spent the entire morning scrubbing every single corner of this place until it practically sparkled like something out of those home improvement shows my mom's always glued to. We're talking hands and knees, toothbrush in the grout, kind of cleaning here, people. I even bought one of those fancy all-purpose cleaners that costs more than my weekly grocery budget because, hey, tonight was supposed to be special. The candles? Strategically placed throughout the living room like I'm some kind of interior design genius. Vanilla and sandalwood, classy stuff, not those cheap dollar store numbers that smell like a chemical factory explosion. Fresh flowers from the farmer's market downtown, the kind that make you feel like you've got your life together even when you're secretly eating cereal for dinner 3 nights a week. I arranged them in this vase I'd been saving for months, the one I found at that antique shop, and thought, someday, when I have people over, this'll look perfect. And the food? Jesus Christ, the food. I went full Gordon Ramsay on this spread. We're talking homemade lasagna that took 4 hours to prep, garlic bread that I actually made from scratch instead of buying those frozen hockey pucks from the grocery store, Caesar salad with real Parmesan that I grated myself like some kind of culinary saint. I made enough to feed a small army because that's what you do when your family's coming over, right? You make sure there's plenty because God forbid someone goes home hungry and then spends the next week telling everyone how stingy you are. This whole shindig was supposed to be my victory lap, my look what I accomplished without any help from anyone moment. After years of living in that shoebox apartment where the neighbors sounded like they were training for the WWE championships every night at 2 a.m., I finally had my own place. A real place. 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, a balcony that actually fits more than a single folding chair. Hell, I've even got a dishwasher that doesn't sound like it's summoning the devil every time I run it. So there I was, dressed in my good shirt. You know, the one I save for job interviews and funerals, checking my phone every 5 minutes like some lovesick teenager waiting for a text back. 6 o'clock came and went. Then 7. By 8, I'm starting to think maybe I got the time wrong. Even though I sent the invitation 3 weeks ago and followed up with a group text last Sunday. You remember Sunday, right? The day my dear brother Martin was supposed to be totally free and wouldn't miss it for the world. The candles are burning lower, casting these weird shadows that make the apartment feel more like a funeral home than a celebration. The lasagna's getting that crusty edge that happens when it sits in the oven too long on warm, and I'm standing there like an idiot, checking the time on my phone for the 100th time. That's when the doubt starts creeping in. You know the feeling, that cold, slimy sensation in your gut that whispers maybe you're not as important as you thought you were. Maybe that group chat where everyone was so enthusiastic was just politeness. Maybe "we'll definitely be there" is code for "we'll show up if we don't find something better to do." But I'm not ready to give up yet. I mean, Claire's always late to everything. It's practically her trademark. She once showed up to her own birthday party 45 minutes after it started because she lost track of time getting her nails done. And my parents? They're probably stuck in traffic or helping my sister with something. There's always something with my sister. 9 o'clock rolls around, and that's when I make the mistake of opening social media. You know what they say about curiosity killing the cat? Well, consider me officially deceased. There it is, in living color on my phone screen. Photos from Martin's impromptu fishing trip. And not just Martin. Oh no, that would be too simple. There's Claire, grinning like she just won the lottery, holding up some pathetic-looking base like it's the catch of the century. My parents are in the background, Dad with his arm around Mom, both of them looking happier than I've seen them in months. My sister Jessica's there too, making duck faces at the camera because apparently she never mentally graduated from 2009. The timestamp on the first photo? 4:30 this afternoon, which means they all bailed on my housewarming to go fishing. Fishing. Not a wedding, not an emergency, not even a decent excuse like food poisoning or a flat tire. They chose standing around in waders, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, over celebrating the biggest achievement of my adult life. I scroll through the comments, each one a tiny knife twist in my chest. Looks like such a blast. Family time is the best time. Jealous of this crew. Not a single person asked where I was. Not one comment that said, "Hey, isn't James supposed to be celebrating his new place tonight?" The silence in my apartment becomes deafening. The refrigerator hum that I barely noticed during the day now sounds like a freight train. The upstairs neighbor's TV, which I can usually tune out, might as well be broadcasting directly into my living room. Even the candles seem to mock me with their cheerful flickering, like they're saying, "Look how festive we are for your pity party, population 1." I walk over to the kitchen island where all this beautiful food is laid out like an offering to gods who decided not to show up. The lasagna's developing that sad, dried-out look that screams, "Leftover Tuesday." The salad's wilting despite my best efforts with the fancy dressing I splurged on. The garlic bread's gone cold and hard, probably suitable now only for feeding pigeons or using as hockey pucks. And then, just when I think this night can't get any more humiliating, my phone buzzes with such violence I nearly drop it. The screen lights up with a message that makes my blood run cold. "Claire, we need to talk now." Not, "Sorry we missed your party." Not, "Something came up." Not even a bullshit excuse about traffic or feeling sick. Just, "We need to talk now." Like I'm some employee who's been caught stealing from the petty cash box. I stare at those 5 words until they blur together. The audacity is breathtaking, really. They ghost my housewarming party to go fishing with my golden boy brother, post it all over social media like they're proud of ditching me, and then have the nerve to demand my immediate attention when it's convenient for them. Standing there in the glow of my own pathetic celebration, surrounded by enough food to feed the family that couldn't be bothered to show up, I feel something shift inside me. It's not sadness anymore. That passed about an hour ago. It's not even anger, though there's plenty of that simmering under the surface. It's something colder, sharper, something that tastes like clarity and feels like the first breath of air after being underwater too long. Because for the first time in my 32 years of being the reliable one, the responsible one, the one who always shows up, I'm starting to understand something important. Maybe it's time to stop showing up for people who can't be bothered to show up for me. So here I am, staring at my phone like it just grew tentacles and started speaking Mandarin. "We need to talk now." 5 little words that somehow managed to carry the weight of 32 years of being everyone's reliable backup plan. The sheer balls on these people, I swear to God. You want to know what's really rich about this whole situation? Not a single one of them could spare 30 seconds to text me, "Hey, something came up, can't make it tonight," before they all piled into Martin's truck for their spontaneous fishing adventure. But now it's suddenly urgent. Now I'm supposed to drop everything and dance to their tune like some kind of trained monkey. My phone starts ringing immediately because apparently "we need to talk now" means "answer your damn phone this instant, James." Claire's contact photo pops up. That selfie she took last Christmas where she's wearing that ridiculous Santa hat and grinning like she just discovered the secret to world peace. Looking at it now, all I can think is how fake that smile looks. How many times has she smiled at me like that while planning to screw me over? I let it ring, and ring, and ring some more. There's something almost therapeutic about watching her name flash on my screen while I do absolutely nothing about it. For once in my life, I'm not jumping through hoops the second someone demands my attention. Revolutionary concept, right? The voicemail notification pops up, followed immediately by another call. This time it's Dad, and his contact photo is just as irritating. Him in his favorite fishing vest, the one he wears like it's some kind of uniform that proves he's more outdoorsy than the rest of us mere mortals. I decline that one too, and it feels almost as good as the first time. Then the texts start flooding in like a digital tsunami of guilt and manipulation. "Claire, James, answer your phone." "Dad, son, this is important." "Mom, please call us back. We need to explain." Even Jessica gets in on the action. "Just pick up. It's about Martin." Of course it's about Martin. Everything's always about Martin. Martin the charmer, Martin the free spirit, Martin, the golden child who can do no wrong even when he's doing everything wrong. I should have seen this coming from a mile away. They didn't ditch my housewarming just for fun. They ditched it because precious Martin needed their attention for something, and naturally, his needs trumped my celebration. I walk over to my kitchen island and pour myself a glass of wine from the bottle I'd opened to celebrate with my family. The irony isn't lost on me that I'm now drinking it alone while they blow up my phone from whatever bar they probably hit after their fishing expedition. The wine tastes expensive because it was expensive, because I wanted tonight to be special, and now every sip feels like I'm drinking liquid vindication. My chest feels heavy, like someone's sitting on it. It's this weird combination of hurt and anger that I can't quite shake. Part of me, the part that's been trained through decades of family dynamics to be the good son, the reliable one, the peacekeeper, wants to just answer the damn phone and find out what crisis Martin has stumbled into this time. Because let's be real, it's definitely a crisis. Martin doesn't inspire family emergency meetings because he won the lottery or got promoted at work. But there's this other part of me, this quiet voice that's been getting louder over the past few hours. That's saying something different. It's saying, wait, make them explain. For once in your life, don't just roll over and accept their version of events. Don't let them steamroll you into feeling guilty for being hurt that they abandoned you. The notifications keep stacking up like digital daggers. Missed call after missed call, voicemail after voicemail, text after increasingly frantic text. My phone's practically having a seizure from all the incoming messages. It's almost funny how quickly their tone shifts from demanding to pleading. James, please. We're worried about you. Just let us explain what happened. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. You all made a choice. You looked at your calendars, saw that you had two options: support your son/husband/brother at his housewarming party, or go fishing with Martin, and you chose Martin. You didn't even have the courtesy to lie about it. You posted photos like you were proud of your decision. I'm pacing around my apartment now, stepping over the discarded party supplies that earlier today seemed so hopeful and now just look pathetic. The balloons I hung are starting to lose their helium, drooping sadly like deflated dreams. The "Welcome to my new home" banner I spent 20 minutes positioning perfectly now feels like a cruel joke. That's when I hear the knock at my door. Not the confident rap of someone who belongs here, but this tentative little tap that screams awkward neighbor interaction. I look through the peephole and see Mrs. Garcia from across the hall, holding what looks like a plate covered with aluminum foil. She's in her 70s, this sweet lady who always says hello in the elevator and asks about my job like she actually cares about the answer. I debate pretending I'm not home, but something about her kind face makes me open the door. She's standing there in her flowered housecoat and slippers, looking genuinely concerned. James, Mijo, I was just wondering, did your party get canceled? She's looking past me into the apartment, and I can see her taking in the untouched spread of food, the lonely candles still burning, the decorations that scream celebration for one. I try to force a smile, but it feels like I'm wearing someone else's face. Oh no, Mrs. Garcia. Just running a little late, you know how it is. But she's not buying it. She's lived long enough to recognize bullshit when she sees it, and her face softens with this expression that's somehow worse than anger or disappointment. It's pity. Pure, unadulterated pity. She's looking at me like I'm a lost puppy that got left in the rain. Oh, sweetheart, she says, and those two words carry more genuine concern than I've heard from my own family all night. She holds out the plate. I made extra empanadas. Thought maybe your guests might enjoy them. I take the plate because what else can I do? Thank you. That's really thoughtful. My voice sounds strange even to me, like it belongs to someone else. She pats my arm gently. You know, Mijo, sometimes the people who should show up for us don't. But that doesn't mean you're not worth showing up for. And just like that, this woman I barely know has summed up everything I've been feeling in one simple sentence. After she goes back to her apartment, I stand there holding her empanadas, and something inside me crystallizes into absolute clarity. They had their chance. They chose fishing over family, my family, specifically. They chose Martin's drama over my achievement. They chose to humiliate me publicly and then expect me to be available the second they needed something from me. Well, guess what? For the first time in my adult life, I'm not available. I'm not jumping when they say jump. I'm not answering their calls or responding to their increasingly desperate texts. I'm going to let them sit with the consequences of their choices for once. My phone buzzes again. Claire, naturally. James, please. We know you're upset, but this is bigger than tonight. I read the message twice, then set my phone face down on the counter. Because you know what? Tonight was big to me, and they missed it. They don't get to decide that their emergency trumps my pain just because it's convenient for them. The quiet voice in my head isn't so quiet anymore. It's practically shouting, make them wait. Make them explain. Make them understand what it feels like to be ignored when you need someone most. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Morning comes whether you want it to or not. And let me tell you, I spent most of the night staring at my ceiling like it held the secrets to the universe. My phone sat on the nightstand like some kind of digital time bomb, buzzing intermittently with voicemails and texts that I refused to acknowledge. By the time dawn crept through my blinds, I'd counted exactly 17 missed calls and 23 unread messages. A new personal record in family harassment, if we're keeping score. I shuffle to the kitchen in my boxers and old college t-shirt, stepping over the remnants of last night's disaster. The candles have burned down to little waxy puddles. The flowers are starting to droop despite my efforts to keep them fresh, and the smell of cold lasagna hangs in the air like a memorial to my misplaced optimism. It's like a crime scene, except the only thing that died here was my faith in my family's basic human decency. Coffee first, existential crisis second. That's my motto. I'm standing there watching the coffee maker do its thing, trying to pretend that my hands aren't shaking slightly from a combination of caffeine withdrawal and suppressed rage, when my phone starts ringing again. Claire's face pops up on the screen, that same Christmas photo that looked fake yesterday and looks even faker today. Something in me snaps. Maybe it's the way the morning light is hitting all the untouched food, or maybe it's the fact that I've had 8 hours to really marinate in my anger, but I decide enough is enough. I swipe to answer, and before she can even get a word out, I'm already on the offensive. Oh, so now you want to talk? My voice comes out rougher than I expected, probably because I spent half the night grinding my teeth. After posting your fishing trip all over Facebook like some kind of victory lap? There's a pause, and when Claire finally speaks, her tone is shaky in that way she gets when she knows she's screwed up, but is trying to maintain some semblance of control. James, listen, we need to explain what happened. It's about Martin. He's in serious trouble with money. And there it is. The magic words that are supposed to make everything okay, that are supposed to justify why my entire family ghosted me on one of the most important nights of my life. Martin's in trouble. Martin needs help. Martin. Oh, let me guess. I say, pouring my coffee with more force than necessary, some of it splashing onto the counter. Golden Boy made some questionable financial decisions, and now everybody needs to rally around him like he's some kind of war hero instead of a 35-year-old man who can't balance a checkbook. James, don't be like this. You know it's more complicated than. More complicated than what? More complicated than showing up to your husband's housewarming party? More complicated than sending a text saying you can't make it? More complicated than basic human courtesy. I can hear her breathing on the other end. That frustrated sigh she does when she thinks I'm being unreasonable. It's the same sigh she gave me when I complained about spending Christmas at Martin's house 3 years running, or when I suggested we might celebrate my birthday for once instead of making it all about whoever else needed attention that week. Look, she says, and I can practically see her running her fingers through her hair. Martin owes some serious money to some serious people. We're talking about his safety here. We told him you'd help because you're good with money. You're responsible. You have your life together. Oh, so now I'm responsible? I'm pacing around my kitchen island, and I catch a glimpse of myself in the reflection of my microwave. I look unhinged, which is probably accurate. Now I'm the one with my life together? Funny how those qualities only matter when you need something from me. That's when I hear Dad's voice in the background, and Jesus Christ, he's actually there. They're tag-teaming me. This isn't just Claire calling to apologize or explain. This is a coordinated assault. I can picture them huddled around her phone like they're planning a military operation, probably in Martin's living room, probably surrounded by whatever expensive toys he bought instead of paying his bills. Dad's voice gets louder, like he's moving closer to the phone. James, stop being dramatic. You know we care about you, but this is serious. Martin could lose his house, his business, everything. You're the stable one, son. You need to step in here. The stable one. The responsible one. The reliable one. All these labels they've pinned on me over the years. Labels that apparently only matter when they need my wallet or my problem-solving skills. Where were these compliments when I graduated college? When I got my first promotion? When I saved up enough money to buy my own place? Nowhere. That's where. But the second their precious Martin screws up, suddenly I'm the family hero they need to save the day. Step in. I'm laughing now, but it's not a happy sound. It's the kind of laugh you hear in movies right before someone has a complete breakdown. Step in like how you all stepped in for me last night. Oh wait, that's right. You stepped right past me and into Martin's fishing boat. That's not fair, Claire says, and her voice is getting that edge to it. That means she's shifting from apologetic to defensive. We explained that Martin needed us yesterday. He was having a panic attack about his situation. We couldn't just leave him alone. But you could leave me alone. The words come out flat, matter of fact. You could leave me standing in my apartment with enough food to feed 10 people, waiting for my family to show up and celebrate the biggest accomplishment of my adult life. That was totally fine. James, come on. It's just a party. We can celebrate your apartment anytime. Martin's problems can't wait. Just a party. Just a party. I set my coffee mug down so hard it's a miracle it doesn't shatter. Just a party? Claire, do you have any idea how long I saved for that apartment? How many weekends I worked overtime? How many dinners out I skipped? How many times I bought generic everything just so I could afford the down payment? Of course I know, but... Do you know what I spent on food for last night? What I spent on decorations, on cleaning supplies, on making everything perfect, because I wanted to share this moment with the people who are supposed to matter most to me. Silence. Do you know how it felt to stand there for 4 hours, checking my phone, making excuses in my head for why you weren't there yet, only to find out that you were all having a grand old time taking pictures without me? More silence, but I can hear Dad saying something in the background that sounds like, just tell him we'll make it up to him. Make it up to me. Like this is something that can be fixed with a rain check or a dinner out. Like my feelings are some kind of inconvenient speed bump on the way to solving Martin's problems. Here's what's going to happen, I say, surprised by how calm my voice sounds. You're going to hang up this phone, and you're going to think really hard about whether Martin's financial crisis is more important than your marriage. And Dad, if you're listening, you're going to think about whether your golden child's latest screw-up is worth losing your other son. James, don't be ridiculous. Nobody's losing anybody. We're family. Family shows up, Claire. Family keeps promises. Family doesn't choose fishing over celebrating each other's achievements and then call the next morning demanding favors. I can hear Dad's voice getting louder, more insistent. Stop being selfish, James. This is bigger than your hurt feelings. Martin could lose everything. And that's when something inside me doesn't just snap, it completely obliterates. Selfish? Selfish? I've spent 32 years being the opposite of selfish. I've been the dependable one, the stable one, the one who cleans up everyone else's messes while never asking for anything in return. And the one time I ask you all to show up for something that matters to me, I'm being selfish. The words are pouring out of me now like a dam burst, and I can't stop them even if I wanted to. You want to know what's selfish? Ditching your husband's housewarming party to go fishing. What's selfish is posting photos of your fun family day while I'm sitting alone wondering what I did wrong. What's selfish is calling me up the next morning, not to apologize, but to demand that I bail out the brother who couldn't even be bothered to wish me congratulations on my new home. James, I'm not done. My voice is steel now, cold and sharp. What's selfish is 32 years of making Martin the center of the universe while treating me like I'm just some supporting character in his story. What's selfish is expecting me to drop everything and save him from consequences he created for himself while never once acknowledging that I might need support too. Dead silence on the other end. So no, Claire. No, Dad. I'm not stepping in. I'm not being the reliable one this time. You made your choice yesterday, and now you get to live with it. And for the first time in my adult life, I hang up on my family. You'd think that hanging up on your family for the first time in your life would feel more satisfying, but honestly, it just left me feeling hollow, like I'd been carrying around this massive weight for so long that now that it's gone, I don't know how to stand up straight anymore. I spent the rest of the morning rage cleaning my apartment, scrubbing dishes that were already clean, reorganizing closets that were already organized, basically doing anything to keep my hands busy so my brain wouldn't have time to second-guess what I'd just done. By afternoon, I'd almost convinced myself that maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe I should call Claire back and apologize for losing my temper. You know how it is when you're programmed from birth to be the peacekeeper. Even when you're completely in the right, there's this nagging voice that says you're being the problem. That voice got real quiet real fast when I heard the knock on my door around 6 p.m. Not Mrs. Garcia's tentative little tap this time. This was confident, familiar, the kind of knock that says, "I belong here, and I'm coming in whether you like it or not." I look through the peephole, and there she is, Claire, standing in the hallway with that smile plastered on her face. Not her genuine smile, mind you, but that practiced, saccharine thing she pulls out when she needs something. The smile that says, "I'm about to manipulate you, and we both know it. But let's pretend this is all very pleasant." She's dressed to kill, too. Not in her usual jeans and t-shirt combo, but in that blue dress I complimented her on last month, the one that brings out her eyes. Her hair's done up in that style she knows I like, and she's even wearing the perfume I bought her for our anniversary. The whole 9 yards. This isn't Claire the wife coming to have an honest conversation. This is Claire the actress coming to give a performance. I debate not answering, just like I did with the phone calls, but something morbid in me wants to see how this plays out. So I open the door and lean against the frame, not stepping aside to let her in. If she wants to do this, we're doing it in the doorway where the whole hallway can hear. "Hey, baby," she says, and that fake sweetness in her voice makes my teeth hurt. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by. You know, check out the new place properly." In the neighborhood? Right. We lived 20 minutes apart, and there's absolutely nothing in my neighborhood she'd have any reason to visit. But sure, let's pretend this is some casual, spontaneous visit. Little late for the housewarming tour, don't you think? I say, not moving from my position in the doorway. That was supposed to happen yesterday. Remember yesterday? Her smile falters for just a second, but she recovers like the pro she is. "James, don't be like that. I know you're upset about last night, but let me explain. It wasn't personal. Martin was having a complete breakdown. He called Dad crying, actually crying, about losing his house. We couldn't just ignore that. But you could ignore me. It's not the same thing, and you know it." She takes a step closer, and I catch a whiff of that perfume. It used to make me weak in the knees. Now it just smells like desperation. Your party was a celebration. Martin's situation was a crisis. You understand the difference, right? The condescension in that last question makes my jaw clench. Oh, I understand perfectly. My achievements don't qualify as crises, so they go to the bottom of the priority list. Got it. That's not what I meant. She's still smiling, but it's getting more strained by the second. "Look, can we not do this in the hallway? Let me come in, we'll open a bottle of wine, and we can talk about this like adults." Like adults. As if I'm the one being childish here. As if standing up for myself and refusing to be walked all over is somehow immature. Adults keep their commitments, Claire. Adults don't ghost their family members and then show up the next day pretending nothing happened. That's when I hear footsteps in the stairwell, heavy and deliberate. Dad appears around the corner, and I swear to God, it's like watching a bad sitcom unfold. He's got that expression on his face that I know all too well. The one that says, "I'm disappointed in you and you're about to hear all about it." "James," he says, his voice carrying that boom that used to make me snap to attention when I was 12. "We need to talk." "We already talked this morning, Dad." I thought I made myself pretty clear. He walks up behind Claire, and now I've got both of them standing in my hallway like some kind of intervention squad. Dad's wearing his serious face, the one he used to pull out when he'd catch me and Martin fighting his kids. Except back then Martin was never the one getting lectured. "What you made clear," Dad says, "is that you're being selfish and stubborn. Martin needs help, and instead of stepping up like family should, you're throwing a tantrum because we missed your party." Throwing a tantrum. A fucking tantrum. Like I'm some 5-year-old having a meltdown in the cereal aisle instead of a grown man who's finally had enough of being treated like an afterthought. "You know what, Dad? You're right. I am throwing a tantrum. Want to know why?" I push off from the doorframe and stand up straighter. Because in 32 years, this is the first time anyone in this family has had to deal with me being anything other than perfectly accommodating. And you can't handle it. Claire jumps in before Dad can respond. probably sensing that this is going sideways fast. James, honey, please. Don't take it personally. Martin's situation really is serious. We told him you'd help because you're so good with money. You're dependable. You always come through. You're the responsible one. The responsible one. There it is again, that label they love to slap on me when they need something. Not when I'm graduating college. Not when I'm getting promoted. Not when I'm buying my first home. Just when Martin screws up and they need someone to fix it. Dependable. I repeat, tasting the word like it's something bitter. You know what else is dependable? The sun rising every morning. Gravity keeping you anchored to the ground. Death and taxes. But you don't celebrate those things, do you? You just expect them to be there. Dad's face is getting red now. That vein in his forehead starting to throb the way it did when I was a teenager and he was about to ground me. Stop being dramatic, James. This isn't about you. That's the problem, Dad. It's never about me. When was the last time anything in this family was about me? When was the last time you called to see how I was doing? Not because you needed something, but because you actually cared? The silence that follows is deafening. Dad's mouth opens and closes like he's trying to find words, and Claire's looking back and forth between us like she's watching a tennis match. When was the last time you acknowledged any of my accomplishments without immediately shifting the conversation to Martin? When was the last time you showed up for something that mattered to me? Still nothing. I bought this apartment, Dad, with my own money, after years of saving and sacrifice. Do you know what that means to me? Do you have any idea how proud I am of this place? Of course we're proud of you, son. But nothing. You're proud of me in theory, but when it comes to actually showing up and celebrating with me, suddenly there are more important things to do. There's always something more important when it comes to me. Claire tries to step forward, but I raise my hand to stop her. You left me alone on the night I needed you most, and now you want me to save the brother who couldn't even be bothered to congratulate me. You want me to bail out the golden child who spent his whole life having everyone else clean up his messes. James, you're being unfair. No, Claire. Unfair is what you did to me. Unfair is 32 years of making me feel like I don't matter unless someone needs something from me. Unfair is standing here in my hallway, wearing the dress you know I like and the perfume I bought you, trying to manipulate me into forgetting how badly you hurt me. Dad's voice drops to that dangerous quiet tone he used to use when he was really angry. That's enough. You're talking to your wife, not some stranger on the street. Show some respect. Respect. I almost laugh. Where was the respect when you all decided Martin's fishing trip was more important than my housewarming? Where was the respect when you posted photos of yourselves having fun while I was sitting here alone? We made a mistake, okay? Claire's voice is getting higher, more desperate. We made a mistake, and we're sorry. But we can't change what happened, and right now Martin needs our help. Your help. You're his brother, and you're my wife. But that didn't stop you from choosing him over me yesterday. I can see tears starting to form in her eyes, but I'm done being moved by her tears. I've spent too many years caving every time she cried. Too many years letting her emotional manipulation override my own needs. Here's what's going to happen. I say, my voice steady and calm. You're going to leave. Both of you. You're going to go back to Martin and tell him that the dependable, responsible brother he couldn't be bothered to show up for isn't available to solve his problems. Dad steps forward, his chest puffing out like he's about to physically intimidate me into submission. You don't get to turn your back on family, James. That's not how this works. Family. I look him straight in the eye. Dad, when exactly did I become family to you? Because from where I'm standing, I've been more like an employee. Someone you call when you need a job done, but not someone you actually care about. That's not true, and you know it. Do I? Then prove it. Tell me one thing, just one thing, that you've done for me in the past year that wasn't because you needed something from me. The silence stretches between us like a chasm, and I can see the exact moment when Dad realizes he can't answer that question. His face goes from angry to confused to something that might be shame, but I'm not sticking around to find out. That's what I thought. I say quietly. You don't get to rewrite this story anymore. You made your choice yesterday when you chose Martin's fishing trip over my celebration. Now you get to live with the consequences. And for the second time in 2 days, I close a door on my family. Except this time, it's literal, and it feels a hell of a lot more final. You know that scene in zombie movies where the hero thinks they've finally found safety, but then the undead start pouring out of every crack and crevice? Yeah, That's basically what my life became over the next few days. Except instead of flesh-eating monsters, it was my extended family launching a coordinated guilt campaign that would make a military strategist weep with envy. It started the morning after I slammed the door on Claire and Dad. My phone buzzed at 7 a.m., which, by the way, should be illegal unless someone's literally dying, and it was Aunt Susan. Sweet Aunt Susan, who sends me birthday cards with $20 bills inside and always asks about my job at family gatherings like she actually cares about my boring corporate life. "James, honey," she said in that syrupy voice that immediately put me on high alert. "I heard about the situation with Martin. Your poor parents are beside themselves with worry." Poor parents. Right. The same parents who couldn't spare an evening to celebrate my biggest life achievement, but somehow found the time to canvass the entire family tree looking for reinforcements in their guilt war. "Morning, Aunt Susan," I said, because I was raised with manners even if the rest of my family apparently wasn't. "What situation would that be?" "Oh, don't play coy, sweetie. We all know Martin's in a bind, and family needs to stick together during times like these. Your mother called me crying last night." "Crying, James. She's so worried about both her boys." "Both her boys? That's rich, considering one of her boys has been completely ignored for the past 32 years, while the other one has been treated like some kind of golden god who can do no wrong. But sure, now she's worried about both of us." "I'm sure she is," I said, not bothering to hide the sarcasm in my voice. It must be really hard for her to see Martin facing consequences for his actions for once. "James, that's a terrible thing to say about your brother. He's struggling, and instead of helping him, you're being, well, cold." That's not the James the first no. Cold. There's that word again, the one Claire threw at me yesterday. Funny how quickly I went from dependable and responsible to cold the second I stopped being their personal ATM and emotional punching bag. The calls multiplied like rabbits on steroids. Uncle Bob, who I haven't spoken to since Christmas 3 years ago, suddenly felt compelled to lecture me about family loyalty. Cousin Jennifer, who blocked me on Facebook after I pointed out that her MLM scheme was basically a pyramid scheme, was now sliding into my DMs with sob stories about Martin's situation. Even my grandmother, my 90-year-old grandmother who can barely work her TV remote, somehow managed to leave me a voicemail about how disappointed she was in my selfishness. The voicemail from Grandma was particularly brutal. "James, sweetie, I don't understand what's gotten into you. Martin has always looked up to you as his big brother. He needs you right now, and you're turning your back on him. That's not how I raised your father, and it's not how your father raised you. Family comes first, always. Call Martin. Fix this. Always looked up to me." That's a good one, Grandma. Martin looked up to me the same way a leech looks up to its host, with appreciation for what I could provide, not respect for who I am as a person. But the real masterpiece came from Cousin Tommy, who drunk dialed me at 11 p.m. on Wednesday. Tommy, who once borrowed $500 from me for car repairs and then posted Instagram stories from Vegas that same weekend. Tommy, who has never paid back a dime to anyone in the family, but somehow feels qualified to lecture me about financial responsibility. "Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?" he slurred into the phone. "Martin's about to lose his house, and you're just gonna let it happen? That's fucked up, man. That's really fucked up." "Tommy," I said, glancing at my clock and wondering why I even answered. "When's the last time you helped Martin with anything? When's the last time you helped anyone in this family with anything? That's not the point, bro. I'm not the one with money. You're the successful one. You're supposed to take care of shit like this." Supposed to take care of shit like this. According to who? According to the family charter that apparently designated me as the official cleanup crew for everyone else's disasters? The handbook I never received that outlined my responsibilities as the stable, dependable, boring one? By Thursday, I was starting to feel like I was trapped in some kind of psychological warfare experiment. Every social media notification made me cringe. Every phone call sent my blood pressure through the roof. They were relentless, coordinated, and absolutely shameless in their manipulation tactics. The worst part? They were all using the same script. Family comes first. Martin needs you. Don't be cold. This isn't like you. It was like they'd all attended some kind of guilt-tripping seminar and graduated with honors. At work, I was a wreck. I couldn't concentrate on anything, kept checking my phone obsessively, and probably looked like I was having some kind of breakdown. Which, Let's be honest, I probably was. That's when Daniel noticed. Daniel's this guy from accounting who I've worked with for about 3 years. Nice enough dude. Keeps to himself mostly, but he's got this way of seeing through bullshit that I've always appreciated. We're not best friends or anything, but we grab lunch sometimes and complain about office politics and terrible management decisions. You look like someone ran over your dog, he said, sliding into the chair across from me in the break room, where I was staring at my sandwich like it held the meaning of life. Family issues, I said, which was becoming my standard response to anyone who asked why I looked like a walking disaster. Daniel nodded knowingly. The kind where everyone suddenly becomes an expert on your life decisions? I looked up at him, surprised by how accurately he'd nailed it. Something like that. Let me guess, he said, opening his own lunch. Someone in your family screwed up, and now everyone expects you to fix it because you're the responsible one. The air quotes he made around responsible told me everything I needed to know. This guy had been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. My brother, I admitted. Financial trouble. Bad financial trouble. And apparently it's my job to bail him out because I have my shit together. And when you said no, suddenly you became the villain. Exactly. It felt good to talk to someone who understood without me having to explain the whole sordid history. Daniel took a bite of his sandwich, chewed thoughtfully. You know what I learned when my sister went through her drug phase, and everyone expected me to fund her recovery for the 4th time? What? That being the stable one in a dysfunctional family is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you actually have your life together. It's a curse because everyone else treats that stability like it belongs to them. His words hit me like a punch to the gut, but in a good way. Like someone had finally put into words what I'd been feeling but couldn't articulate. The thing is, Daniel continued, they're not really asking you to help your brother. They're asking you to enable the same pattern that got him into trouble in the first place. They want you to rescue him so they can all go back to pretending that his problems aren't really problems. But they keep saying I'm being cold, that I'm turning my back on family. Daniel laughed, but it wasn't mean. Of course they do. Because if you're the cold one, then they don't have to examine their own behavior. If you're the one being unreasonable, then they can all feel good about themselves while they pressure you into fixing everything. He leaned forward, his expression getting more serious. Can I ask you something? When's the last time any of these people calling you cold actually showed up for something that mattered to you? The question hung in the air between us like a challenge. I thought about my housewarming party, about all the times I'd invited family to work events or personal celebrations, about all the times I'd gotten generic excuses or outright no-shows. That's what I thought, Daniel said, reading my expression. They're not angry because you're being cold, James. They're angry because you're finally setting boundaries, and boundaries make people who are used to walking all over you very uncomfortable. That night, I sat in my apartment, my beautiful, hard-earned apartment that no one in my family had bothered to celebrate with me, and really let Daniel's words sink in. The phone kept ringing, the texts kept coming, the voicemails kept piling up. But for the first time since this whole mess started, I wasn't feeling guilty about ignoring them. I was feeling something else entirely. Something that tasted like freedom and felt like the first deep breath after being underwater for 32 years. Because Daniel was right. This wasn't about family loyalty or being cold or any of the other bullshit they were throwing at me. This was about power. About who gets to make decisions and who gets stuck dealing with the consequences. About who matters and who doesn't. And for the first time in my life, I was choosing to matter. Sometimes the most powerful moments happen in the quiet spaces between all the chaos. That night, after Daniel's reality check and another round of guilt-laden voicemails from relatives I hadn't heard from since the Bush administration, I found myself standing in my home office, staring at the filing cabinet like it held the secrets to the universe. It's funny how certain objects can suddenly take on this almost mystical significance. This particular filing cabinet, a boring gray metal thing I bought at Office Depot for $49, had been sitting in the corner for months, just holding paperwork and insurance documents and all the other mundane stuff that comes with being a functional adult. But tonight, it felt like a treasure chest. I pulled open the top drawer with this weird sense of ceremony, like I was about to perform some kind of ritual. Past the utilities folder, past the car insurance papers, past all the regular life maintenance documents, until my fingers found the manila folder labeled apartment purchase in my own neat handwriting. Inside that folder was everything. Every bank statement, every loan document, every receipt and record of the most significant financial achievement of my life. But there, right on top, was the piece of paper that mattered most, the deed to my apartment, officially recorded with the county, legally binding proof that James Monroe owned something real and substantial in this world. I pulled it out and just held it for a moment, feeling the weight of the paper between my fingers. It's such a simple thing, really, just black text on white paper, a bunch of legal language that most people would find boring as hell. But to me, in that moment, it might as well have been the Declaration of Independence. There it was, in bold letters that seemed to jump off the page, James Monroe. Not James and Claire Monroe. Not James Monroe with co-signer assistance from his parents. Just my name, standing alone, claiming ownership of something I'd earned entirely through my own effort. I thought about the journey to that moment. The 2 years of eating ramen noodles and generic cereal, so I could save every possible penny for the down payment. The weekends spent working overtime while Martin was out partying or going on spontaneous road trips funded by family handouts. The Friday nights I stayed home instead of going out because every dollar I didn't spend was a dollar closer to my goal. I remembered the day I made the final payment, how I'd sat in the bank manager's office signing what felt like 1,000 documents, how surreal it felt to hand over a check for that much money and know that I wasn't going into debt for it. I'd saved enough to buy the place outright. No mortgage, no monthly payments to some faceless corporation, no strings attached to anyone or anything except my own hard work. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, the boring one, the responsible one, the one who supposedly didn't know how to have fun or live life to the fullest, and I'd managed to accomplish something that none of my more exciting family members had ever come close to achieving. At 32, I owned my home free and clear while Martin was about to lose his because he couldn't manage his finances well enough to make mortgage payments. I walked over to my kitchen counter and spread the deed out under the bright overhead lights, smoothing out the creases where it had been folded in the filing cabinet. Then I pulled out my phone and carefully positioned it to capture the entire document, making sure the letterhead was visible, making sure my name stood out clearly, making sure every official seal and signature was in frame. The photo came out perfect. Crystal clear, professional-looking, undeniably authentic. I stared at it for a long moment, thumb hovering over the screen as I composed the caption in my mind. I wanted something simple but powerful, something that would speak for itself without being too obvious about what I was really doing. Built this life on my own. Some stories tell themselves. Short, sweet, and loaded with meaning for anyone who knew the context. I wasn't mentioning Martin directly, wasn't throwing anyone under the bus explicitly, wasn't even referencing the drama of the past few days. I was just sharing a fact, a simple, documented, legally certified fact about my life and my achievements. But I didn't post it. Not yet. Something held me back, some instinct that told me this was a weapon I could only use once, so I better make sure the timing was right. Instead, I just sat there holding my phone, looking back and forth between the photo and the actual deed, feeling this strange combination of pride and power that I'd never experienced before. For 32 years, I'd been living my life according to other people's expectations and definitions of success. I was the reliable one, the stable one, the one who didn't cause drama or make waves or demand attention. I was the supporting character in everyone else's story, the one who showed up when needed and disappeared into the background when the excitement was over. But this deed told a different story. This piece of paper was proof that I wasn't just the family cleanup crew or the emergency contact for when things went wrong. I was a person who set goals and achieved them, who made sacrifices and saw them pay off, who built something lasting and meaningful entirely through my own efforts. I thought about all the times Martin had mocked my boring lifestyle. The jokes about my budgeting spreadsheets, my meal planning, my reluctance to blow money on spontaneous trips or expensive toys. The way he'd roll his eyes when I declined to go out drinking because I was saving for something important. The way the whole family had treated my financial discipline like some kind of character flaw instead of a strength. Well, look who's laughing now, Martin. Look whose boring lifestyle resulted in actual security and independence, and whose exciting lifestyle resulted in begging family members for bailouts. I picked up the deed again, running my finger along the edge of the paper. This wasn't just a legal document. It was proof of independence. Proof that I didn't need anyone else's approval or assistance to build a life worth living. Proof that all those years of being overlooked and undervalued had actually been years of becoming stronger and more self-sufficient than any of them. The phone rang, startling me out of my thoughts. Claire's name flashed on the screen, and for a split second, I felt that old familiar urge to answer, to smooth things over, to be the accommodating husband who never caused problems. But then I looked at the deed in my other hand, and that urge died a quick death. Let it ring. Let her wonder what I'm thinking, what I'm planning, what I might do next. For once in my life, I was holding all the cards, and I wasn't in any hurry to show my hand. I carefully folded the deed and put it back in the filing cabinet, but I kept the photo on my phone. My ace in the hole. My proof that James Monroe was nobody's backup plan or emergency fund. I was a man who'd built something solid and lasting, and I'd done it without anyone's help. The power of that realization was intoxicating. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't worried about what my family thought of me or whether I was living up to their expectations. I had concrete, legal, undeniable proof that I was doing just fine on my own. Better than fine, actually. I was thriving. While they'd been too busy celebrating Martin's latest adventure to notice my achievements, I'd been quietly building the kind of life that most people only dream about. Financial independence, a beautiful home, career stability, all the things that Martin's exciting lifestyle had failed to provide him. I made myself a cup of coffee and sat down at my kitchen table, looking around at the apartment I'd worked so hard to afford. Every piece of furniture, every appliance, every decoration had been chosen and purchased by me. No family loans, no co-signers, no strings attached. This was my space, my sanctuary, my proof that the boring, responsible James Monroe was actually the most successful member of his family. And tomorrow, if the guilt campaign continued, if the pressure kept mounting, if they kept calling me cold and selfish for refusing to bail out their golden boy, I had something they couldn't argue with or dismiss or minimize. I had proof that their version of my story was complete bullshit. The quiet confidence that came with that knowledge felt better than any family approval I'd ever received. Because this wasn't dependent on their recognition or validation. This was just true, whether they acknowledged it or not. And soon, everyone would know exactly how true it was. Sometimes the universe has this twisted sense of timing that would be hilarious if it wasn't happening to you. I'd been sitting on that photo of my apartment deed for 3 days, carrying it around in my phone like a loaded weapon I wasn't quite ready to fire. But Friday afternoon, while I'm trying to focus on quarterly reports and pretending my personal life isn't a complete dumpster fire, my phone rings with a number I haven't seen in about 2 years. Martin, my dear brother Martin, calling me directly for the first time since. Actually, I can't remember the last time Martin called me for anything that wasn't borrowing money or asking for a favor. I stare at his contact photo, some selfie he took on a ski trip that Dad paid for, all perfect teeth and expensive sunglasses, and debate whether to answer. Part of me is curious to hear what his angle is going to be, whether he'll try the guilt approach or go straight for emotional manipulation. Curiosity wins, so I swipe to answer. Well, look who remembers my phone number. James. His voice sounds rough, like he's been crying or hasn't slept, and despite everything, there's this tiny part of me that actually feels bad for him. 32 years of conditioning don't disappear overnight, apparently. We need to talk. Do we? Because last I checked, you needed to go fishing instead of celebrating your brother's new apartment. Funny how your priorities keep shifting. There's this long pause, and when he speaks again, his voice is cracked and broken in a way I've never heard before. Look, I know you're pissed about the housewarming thing. I get it. We fucked up, okay? But James, I'm drowning here. I'm literally about to lose everything. And what exactly does that have to do with me? You're my brother. The words come out like a desperate plea. You can't just let me drown. We're blood, man. That has to count for something. Blood. Right. The same blood that apparently meant nothing when I needed my family to show up for one night. The same blood that's been thin as water every time I've needed support or recognition or just basic acknowledgement of my existence. Was I your brother when you chose fishing over my housewarming? I ask, and my voice is so calm it surprises even me. Because I distinctly remember checking my family status that night, and it seemed to have been revoked. Come on, don't be like that. You know that was different. I was having a panic attack about all this shit, and Dad thought getting me out on the water would help clear my head. So you had a panic attack, and the solution was to take the entire family fishing and post about it on social media? That's some next-level therapy right there, Martin. It wasn't like that. What was it like then? Because from where I'm sitting, it looked like you decided your feelings were more important than my celebration, and everyone else agreed with you. Like always. The silence stretches between us, and I can hear him breathing heavily on the other end. James, please. I'm begging you here. These people I owe money to. They're not the kind of people who take no for an answer. I could lose my house, my business, everything I've worked for, everything he's worked for. That's rich. Martin's business is some half-assed contracting company that he runs out of his garage, taking on jobs he's not qualified for, and then scrambling to fix his mistakes when they inevitably go wrong. The house he's about to lose? Dad co-signed for that mortgage because Martin's credit was already shot from previous financial disasters. Tell me something, Martin, I say, leaning back in my office chair. When you posted all those photos from your fishing trip, did it occur to you how that might make me feel? Did you think for even 1 second about your brother sitting alone in his new apartment, waiting for his family to show up? We weren't thinking about that. We were just trying to help me deal with. You weren't thinking about me. Period. You never think about me unless you need something from me. And now you need something from me. So suddenly, I'm your brother again. That's not fair. Fair. I'm laughing now, but it's not a happy sound. You want to talk about fair? Fair would be your family showing up to celebrate the biggest achievement of your brother's life. Fair would be getting a congratulations text or a phone call, or literally any acknowledgement that you're proud of what I accomplished. Fair would be not having to find out through Facebook that my entire family chose someone else over me. Martin's quiet for a long moment, and when he speaks again, his voice is barely a whisper. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm really, truly sorry about the housewarming. We should have been there. I know that now. You're sorry now? Now that you need money from me. How convenient. It's not like that. It's exactly like that, Martin. You're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry that hurting me might interfere with getting what you want from me. I hang up before he can respond, and immediately my hands are shaking with this combination of adrenaline and rage and something that feels almost like relief. Because finally, I said what I've been thinking for years instead of just swallowing it and playing the role of the understanding, supportive brother. That's when I decide it's time. I pull up the photo of my apartment deed, the one I've been carrying around like ammunition, and I look at it again. Clean, professional, undeniable proof of what I've accomplished entirely on my own. No family loans, no co-signers, no safety net except my own hard work and discipline. I open Facebook and create a new post, uploading the photo and typing the caption I've been refining in my head for days. Built this life on my own. Some stories tell themselves. My finger hovers over the post button for about 10 seconds. Once I do this, there's no taking it back. Once this goes live, everyone will see exactly what James Monroe has been up to while they were all focused on Martin's latest drama. I hit post. Within minutes, the likes and comments start pouring in. Friends from work, college buddies I haven't talked to in years, neighbors, even Mrs. Garcia from across the hall who apparently knows how to use Facebook better than I thought. Holy shit, James. You bought that place outright? Dude, this is incredible. Congratulations. Wait, you own that apartment? No mortgage? How did you swing that? This is amazing. I'm so proud of you. Comment after comment of genuine excitement and congratulations, the kind of response I should have gotten from my family when I actually bought the place. The kind of response I was hoping for at my housewarming party that nobody attended. But it's the private messages that really get to me. Daniel from work, fucking legend. I knew you had something up your sleeve. Oliver, my old college roommate who I haven't talked to in months. Bro, I always knew you'd be the one to make it. This is incredible. Even my high school friend Sarah. I saw this and literally said holy shit out loud in the grocery store. You're amazing. For the first time in my adult life, I'm getting the recognition and validation that I deserve, and it's coming from people who actually know me and respect me, not from people who only pay attention when they need something. But the real fireworks start about an hour later. My phone starts buzzing with notifications from family members commenting on the post, and their tone is different. Gone is the casual dismissal of my achievements, the backhanded compliments, the subtle undermining that's been the soundtrack of my life for 32 years. Claire's comment is the first one I see. We're so proud of you. Can't wait to celebrate properly. Too little, too late, sweetheart. Then Dad, that's my boy. Always knew you had it in you. Really? Because your actions have suggested otherwise for the past 3 decades. But it's the private messages that really tell the story. Claire texts me. Take it down. You're humiliating us. Then, a few minutes later, people are asking questions about why we weren't at your housewarming. This is embarrassing. Embarrassing. Not, we're sorry we hurt you. Or, we realize we made a mistake. Just, this is embarrassing for us. Because even now, even when faced with undeniable proof of their shitty behavior, they can only think about how this affects them. I type back, funny. I said the same thing when you humiliated me by choosing Martin's fishing trip over my celebration. The response is immediate. That's different, and you know it. No, Claire. That's exactly the same thing. The only difference is that this time, everyone gets to see the truth instead of just me feeling it. More messages flood in from other family members. Aunt Susan, this post is causing problems. Family business should stay private. Uncle Bob, take this down before it causes more drama. Even Grandma, bless her heart. I don't understand all this computer stuff, but your mother says you're causing trouble. Causing trouble by sharing my achievements, by celebrating my success, by refusing to hide the fact that I accomplished something significant while they were all too busy fawning over Martin to notice. But the best part, the absolute cherry on top of this whole beautiful disaster, comes at the end of the day when my phone rings with a call from Martin himself. You son of a bitch, he says without preamble, and his voice is shaking with rage. Do you have any idea what you've done? I shared a photo of my apartment deed. You know, that thing I earned by working my ass off instead of relying on family handouts. People at my work are laughing at me. They're saying I'm pathetic for needing money from my little brother who has his shit together better than I do. And that's my problem, Hal. Take it down, James. Right fucking now. No. Take it down or what? You'll throw another tantrum? You'll get the family to gang up on me again? You'll miss another one of my important moments while you deal with your feelings? The silence on the other end is deafening. Here's the thing, Martin. I continue, and my voice is steady as steel. For 32 years, I've been editing my life to make you feel better about yours. I've downplayed my achievements, hidden my success, and accepted scraps of attention while you got the feast. But I'm done with that now. James. The post stays up. The truth stays public. And if that embarrasses you or makes you uncomfortable or hurts your feelings, then maybe you should have thought about that before you spent 3 decades treating me like I didn't matter. I hang up, and for the first time since this whole mess started, I feel completely, utterly, absolutely free. You know what they say about the truth? It has this nasty habit of spreading like wildfire once it gets loose. My little Facebook post might have seemed like just one guy sharing a photo of his apartment deed, but apparently I'd lit a fuse that was connected to a much bigger powder keg than I'd realized. The first sign that something major was shifting came Sunday morning when I'm at the grocery store, minding my own business in the cereal aisle, and I run into Mrs. Henderson from church. Now, Mrs. Henderson is what you might generously call the neighborhood information hub, meaning she knows everyone's business and isn't shy about sharing it. Normally, she gives me this polite but distant smile and maybe asks how my mother's doing. This time, she practically tackles me by the Cheerios. James Monroe, she says, loud enough that half the store can hear her. I saw your post online, and I have to say, good for you. It's about time someone called out your family for how they treat you. I'm standing there holding a box of generic cornflakes, wondering how the hell Mrs. Henderson is friends with me on Facebook, when she leans in conspiratorially and drops this bombshell. You know, we all noticed when your family didn't show up to your housewarming. The whole congregation was talking about it during coffee hour. Such a shame, really. Here you are, buying your own place at your age, no help from anyone, and they can't even be bothered to celebrate with you. The whole congregation. Jesus Christ. I knew small towns had their gossip networks, but I didn't realize my family's dysfunction had become Sunday morning entertainment for the entire Methodist Church. It's been quite a week, I managed to say, because what else do you say when your personal life becomes community theater? Oh, I bet it has, she says, patting my arm like I'm some kind of wounded bird. But you know what? Sometimes it takes a little public embarrassment to make people realize how badly they've been behaving. Mark my words, your brother Martin's going to be feeling this for a while. She's not wrong about that. Over the next few days, I start hearing through the grapevine just how far the ripple effects of my little truth bomb have spread, and honestly, it's more devastating than I could have imagined. Apparently, Martin's co-workers at the construction company where he does contract work had seen my post and put two and two together. Here's Martin, going around for weeks talking about how his family was going to help him out of his financial jam, how his reliable little brother was good for it, how blood is thicker than water, and all that bullshit. And then boom, there's his reliable little brother posting proof that he's successful enough to buy property outright, while Martin can't even keep up with his mortgage payments. The jokes started immediately, according to my friend Jake, who works in construction and knows some of Martin's crew. Hey Martin, maybe you should ask your little brother for budgeting lessons. Damn, Martin, your brother's got his shit together better than you do, and he's younger. Maybe next time you should skip the fishing trip and go to your brother's housewarming. Might pick up some tips on not being broke. But it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. Claire's book club. Yes, my soon-to-be ex-wife has a book club, and no, they don't actually read books, they just drink wine and gossip, had also seen the post. And according to my neighbor Janet, who's married to a guy whose sister is in said book club, Claire had been bragging for months about how successful and stable I was, how lucky she was to have such a reliable husband, how we were planning to start a family soon now that we had the perfect home. Except now everyone knew that we hadn't bought anything. James Monroe had bought something, and he'd done it without any help from his wife, who couldn't even be bothered to show up and celebrate with him. The same wife who was now publicly asking him to take down posts about his own achievements because they were embarrassing to her. The book club ladies, according to Janet's sister-in-law, had started asking pointed questions. If James is so successful and you're so proud of him, why weren't you at his housewarming? Did you know he could afford to buy a place outright? Are you guys having problems? You seem to spend a lot of time at your brother-in-law's events instead of celebrating your husband's accomplishments. Claire, apparently, had left the last book club meeting early and hadn't been answering her phone when the ladies tried to check on her. But the absolute masterpiece of unintended consequences came through my old college friend Oliver, who reached out Wednesday night with a story that was so perfect I almost couldn't believe it was real. Oliver works in marketing now, lives about an hour away, and apparently still keeps in touch with some of our mutual college friends through various social media groups. He'd shared my post in one of these groups with a comment about how proud he was of me for achieving financial independence so young, and how he'd always known I'd be the one to make it. This caught the attention of Brad, another guy from our college crew who I haven't talked to in probably 5 years. Brad, it turns out, works at the same company where Dad has been employed for the past 15 years. Small world, right? So Brad sees Oliver's post about me, recognizes my last name, puts two and two together, and realizes that James Monroe, the successful apartment owner, is the son of Jim Monroe from the accounting department. Brad, being a decent human being, stops by Dad's office Monday morning to congratulate him on having such a successful kid. According to Oliver, who got this story secondhand from Brad, Dad's reaction was, let's call it complicated. Apparently, he got this weird look on his face and mumbled something about family business, and it's not what it looks like. Then he spent the rest of the conversation trying to change the subject and making excuses for why he hadn't mentioned my recent real estate investment to anyone at work. Brad, who's not an idiot, picked up on the weird energy and started asking questions. Casual questions, the kind you ask when you're trying to figure out why someone's acting sketchy about what should be good news. Questions like, when did James buy the place? And did you guys throw him a housewarming party? And man, he must have been saving for years to afford something like that. Dad's answers, according to Brad's report to Oliver, were evasive and uncomfortable. No, they hadn't thrown a party. Yes, James had been saving for a long time. No, it wasn't really a family celebration, more of a personal milestone. The whole conversation left Brad with the distinct impression that there was some kind of family drama going on, and that maybe Jim Monroe wasn't as proud of his successful son as he should be. Word spreads fast in office environments, especially when someone's acting weird about something that should be straightforward good news. By the end of the week, half of Dad's department had heard some version of the story, and the general consensus was that Jim Monroe's family situation was complicated, and maybe he was jealous of his son's success. The final nail in the coffin came when Oliver called me Thursday night, laughing so hard he could barely get the words out. "Dude," he said, "you have to hear this. Brad told me that your dad actually went to HR today to complain that people were asking too many personal questions about his family. HR told him that congratulating someone on their child's success isn't harassment, and maybe if he acted like he was proud of you, people would stop wondering why he's being so weird about it." I sat there holding the phone, trying to process the beautiful irony of the situation. Dad, who had spent decades minimizing my achievements and prioritizing Martin's drama over my milestones, was now facing professional embarrassment because his coworkers couldn't understand why he wasn't celebrating his successful son. "James," Oliver said, "you still there, man?" "Yeah," I said, and I was smiling so hard my face hurt. "I'm here. I'm just processing. Listen, I don't know what's going on with your family, but I want you to know that everyone who saw your post is genuinely impressed and happy for you. Like, seriously impressed. Most of us are still paying off student loans and living paycheck to paycheck, and here you are owning property free and clear at 32. That's incredible, man. Thanks, Oliver. That means a lot. And whatever drama is happening with your family over this, don't let them make you feel bad about your success. You earned this, and you have every right to be proud of it." After I hung up, I sat in my apartment, my beautiful, debt-free, fully owned apartment, and thought about how quickly things can change when people finally see the truth instead of the story they've been told. For 32 years, my family had controlled the narrative about who I was and what I was worth. I was the boring one, the reliable one, the one who didn't need attention or recognition because that's just how I was. But now that narrative was crumbling, and everyone could see it wasn't based on reality. I wasn't the boring one, I was the successful one. I wasn't the reliable one, I was the independent one. I wasn't the one who didn't need recognition. I was the one who'd been systematically denied it. And now, finally, the whole world could see the difference. 1 week after my little social media truth bomb, they all show up. Not individually this time. Not with phone calls or guilt trips or manipulation tactics. The whole damn family arrives at my door like some kind of dysfunctional Avengers squad, and I can hear them arguing in the hallway before they even knock. Through the peephole, it's like looking at a greatest hits collection of my childhood trauma. Mom, Dad, Martin, Claire, even Jessica dragged along for moral support. They're huddled together like they're planning a siege, which, let's be honest, they probably are. The banging starts, aggressive, demanding, the kind of knock that says, "We're not leaving until you open this door." So I do, but I don't step aside. I lean against the frame like I did with Claire before, except this time I'm facing the entire firing squad. "Well," I say, keeping my voice perfectly calm, "look who remembered where I live." The whole family reunion committee. Mom starts crying immediately, because of course she does. Those perfectly timed tears that have been getting her out of accountability for decades. "James, sweetie, we made a mistake. We're here to apologize and work this out as a family." "Apologize?" I almost laugh. "Mom, you've had a week to apologize. Instead, you've been telling me to take down my post because it's embarrassing you." Dad steps forward, his face red with that familiar rage. "We wouldn't be embarrassed if you hadn't aired our family business all over the internet like some kind of attention-seeking." "Stop right there." My voice cuts through his bluster like a blade. "Don't you dare make this about me seeking attention. I shared one photo of my own achievement. The fact that it exposed your shitty behavior isn't my fault." "James, please." Claire tries, reaching toward me, but I step back. "Can we just talk inside? Like civilized people?" Civilized people keep their commitments. Civilized people show up when they say they will. Civilized people don't abandon their husband's celebration to go fishing. Martin finally speaks up, his voice cracked and desperate. "Look, I know we screwed up the housewarming thing, but this post is ruining my life. People at work are laughing at me. My clients are asking questions. You're destroying me over one night." One night. The words come out flat and cold. "Martin, this isn't about one night. This is about 32 years of being treated like I don't matter unless you need something from me." Mom's crying gets louder. "That's not true. We love you. We've always been proud of you. Proud enough to skip my housewarming for Martin's fishing trip. Proud enough to never mention my accomplishments to anyone. Proud enough to treat me like the family ATM whenever there's a crisis. Dad's voice booms through the hallway. Stop being selfish, James. Martin could lose everything because of your petty revenge. Selfish? I feel something snap inside me. You want to talk about selfish? Selfish is ditching your son's celebration. Selfish is 32 years of making Martin the center of the universe. Selfish is standing in my hallway demanding I fix problems I didn't create. The silence that follows is deafening. Here's what's going to happen. I continue, my voice steady as steel. You're going to leave. All of you. You made your choice last week when you chose Martin's drama over my achievement. Now you get to live with the consequences. James, you can't just cut us off, Jessica pleads. We're family. Family shows up. Family keeps promises. Family doesn't treat one member like he's disposable while worshiping the other. I look each of them in the eye. You don't get to rewrite this story anymore. Claire's face crumples. What about us? Our marriage. You made that choice too, Claire. When you chose your brother-in-law over your husband. I start to close the door, but Dad shoves his foot forward. We made one mistake. No, Dad. You made a choice. Every single day for 32 years, you chose Martin over me. Last week was just the first time everyone else got to see it. I closed the door firmly, and this time when they pound and yell and demand I let them back in, I don't budge. Because for the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself over their dysfunction. And it feels like freedom. 3 months later, Thanksgiving arrives like the ultimate test of my newfound backbone. In the past, this would have been the day I'd dutifully show up at Mom's house, bringing the expensive wine and pretending everything was fine while Martin got praised for remembering to bring rolls from the grocery store. This year I'm doing something revolutionary. I'm having my own damn Thanksgiving. My apartment is transformed into something that actually looks like a celebration instead of a desperate plea for attention. The table I bought with my own money is set for 8, with real cloth napkins and the good dishes I splurged on after my social media truth bomb went viral. The smell of turkey, a modest 12-pounder because I'm not feeding an army of ungrateful relatives, fills the air along with homemade stuffing and cranberry sauce that actually required effort. Daniel from work arrives first, carrying a bottle of wine and grinning like he's won the lottery. Man, this place looks incredible. I can't believe you're cooking for all of us. Believe it, I say, feeling genuinely happy for the first time in months. I figured it was time to host people who actually show up when they say they will. Oliver drives in from an hour away, brings his girlfriend Sarah, who I've heard so much about, and immediately starts gushing about my apartment like he's giving a real estate tour. Dude, I still can't believe you own this place outright. You're living the dream. Mrs. Garcia shuffles over from across the hall with her famous flan and a smile that could power a small city. Mijo, this smells better than anything I ever made. You're going to make some lucky woman very happy someday. The irony isn't lost on me that my elderly neighbor has more faith in my future romantic prospects than my soon-to-be ex-wife ever did. Jake shows up with his wife and their baby, who immediately becomes the center of attention in the best possible way. James, I have to tell you, watching you stand up to your family has been inspiring as hell. Half the guys at work have been talking about setting boundaries with their own toxic relatives. We're sitting around my table, laughing about work stories and college memories, when my phone buzzes with a text from my cousin Tommy. Yes, the same cousin who drunk dialed me to call me selfish. The message is a photo of my family's Thanksgiving table, which looks about as cheerful as a funeral reception. Mom's sitting at one and looking like she's lost her best friend, Dad scowling at his plate like the turkey personally offended him, and Martin slumped in his chair with the defeated look of a man whose golden child status couldn't save him from the consequences of his own actions. Claire's there too, apparently, sitting as far from my empty chair as possible. The caption reads, "Not the same without you, man." Mom's been crying all day. I show the photo to Daniel, who nearly chokes on his wine. Holy shit, they look miserable. Good. Is that terrible of me? I ask, though I'm still smiling, that I'm kind of enjoying their misery. Are you kidding? Oliver jumps in. They spent 32 years making you miserable while they celebrated their golden boy. A little taste of their own medicine is long overdue. As if the universe wants to punctuate his point, my phone buzzes again. This time it's a voicemail notification from Claire. I almost ignore it, but curiosity gets the better of me. I step into the kitchen and play it on speaker. Her voice is trembling, heavy with tears and what sounds like genuine regret. James, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please talk to me. The house feels empty without you. Thanksgiving feels empty. Everything feels empty. I know I screwed up. I know I chose wrong. But please, please don't give up on us completely. I delete the voicemail without hesitation. Because here's the thing I've learned over the past 3 months. Revenge isn't about anger or spite or making people suffer. Real revenge is walking away from people who don't value you and building a life so good that their absence becomes a blessing instead of a loss. I walk back to my dining room where my chosen family is debating whether pumpkin pie or flan is the superior dessert, where people are laughing at my jokes and genuinely interested in my stories, where I'm not the reliable background character, but the host of my own celebration. Standing in my doorway, looking out over this scene of actual happiness and genuine connection, I realize something profound. I don't need their apologies anymore. I don't need their recognition or validation or belated attempts to make things right. I have something better. I have peace. I have people who show up. I have a life I built entirely on my own terms. And that, it turns out, is the sweetest revenge of all.